Team building. Activities that help a group work together. The endurance course was intended as a team-building implementation. Workaholics. Spending most of the time working. Workaholics are considered as socially handicapped as the chronically unemployed. Autonomous body. Having self-government. The Agricultural Research Centre is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Agriculture. Job security. Belief that an individual will keep his job. Job security has become the hallmark of a good job for many employees. Intellectual property. A term for any intangible asset. Businesses should protect their intellectual property with patents and trademarks. Monopoly. Complete control of something. During each wartime, the monopoly capitalists amassed a tremendous amount of wealth. Credit crunch. Reduction in the availability of loans. The tobacco industry suffered particularly badly in the credit crunch. Conglomerate. A company that owns several smaller businesses. The biochemical companies had amalgamated into a vast conglomerate. Positive feedback. Typically used to reinforce a person's behavior. This company has a lot of positive feedback from the government regulatory body. Sponsorship. Financial support from a sponsor. We have won sponsorship from one of the big banks in our country. Career ladder. Series of levels that lead to better jobs. Gabby's language skills and abilities enabled her to forge ahead on the career ladder. Inflation. Increase in prices over a given period of time. Reducing inflation is fundamental to the government's economic strategy. Stagnation. A long period of slow economic growth. Poor economic policies led to a long period of stagnation and failure. Cash flow. Cash moving into and out of a business. Uneven cash flow proved to be a major annoyance for a company. Exchange rate. The price of one currency in terms of another. The international exchange rate plunged to a low point yesterday. Work-life balance. Key aspect of a healthy work environment. Accomplishing work-life balance is the fundamental question for working moms. Emotional intelligence. capability of a person to manage and control. Emotional intelligence is a requisite quality in a big multinational company. Brand loyalty. Positive feelings towards a brand. One of the fastest growing brand loyalty markets is online delivery services. Repetitive job. Doing job many times in the same way. They left the job because the work was too repetitive and monotonous. Self-starters. A business person who has initiative. We're looking for innovative self-starters with at least 2 years' experience. Made redundant. No longer needed as worker. We had been made redundant involuntarily and had worked full-time in the factory. Corporate culture. The shared ethos of an organization. Developing a harmonious corporate culture setting is the key to a company's success. Money laundering. Process of concealing the origin of money. Some transactions in this bank reportedly involved money laundering. Business hierarchy. The organizational structure of a company. A new management hierarchy was created within the company recently. Customer negotiations. Method by which people settle conflicts. They had developed a practical method of customer negotiations. Labor disputes. Disparity between workers and management. He was more interested in political affairs than in the economics of the labor dispute. Glass ceiling. An upper limit to professional advancement. Several reasons are expected for the apparent glass ceiling women hit in many professions. Sex discrimination. Treatment of men and women differently. The government is conducting a campaign against sex discrimination in business. Business policy. The guidelines developed by an organization. Everybody sees it as compelling to align technology policy with business policy. Working condition. The environment in which one works. The miners demonstrated for their better working conditions. Outsourcing. Hire a third party to perform tasks. Outsourcing has become a regular operating procedure in a wide range of organizations. Benchmarking. Process of measuring products, services. The management is planning to launch a benchmarking scheme to guide consumers. Business rivals. A competitor that you want to defeat. Her business rivals started a whispering campaign against her. Market-oriented. Customer-centered approach to product. The development of a market-oriented economy strengthens research and design. Brand recognition. A concept used in advertising. Customer loyalty and brand recognition have provided significant value to the company. Niche market. A small part of a larger market. The formula was reasonably priced to produce an appeal to a niche market. Product endorsement. A celebrity is paid to promote a product. Many sportspersons are able to make a lot of money by doing product endorsements. Liabilities. Being legally responsible for something. This new administration was created with zero assets and zero liabilities. Leverage refers to the ability to generate profit. If the UK had more troops in the region, it would have greater leverage. Maternity leave. When new mother stays away from work. Women are eligible for 18 weeks of maternity leave on full pay in many organizations. Bankruptcy. When a business is unable to pay debts. Bankruptcy is a common phenomenon in economic stagnation. Peer relationships. Interpersonal relationships at work. In particular, we experienced the important role that peer relationships played. Rewarding job. Giving personal satisfaction. Teaching young children online is a challenging and rewarding job. Royalties. Payment for intellectual property. The royalties allowed the inventor to re-establish himself in the business environment. Manufacturing. Producing goods in large numbers. The manufacturing industry has been worst affected by the fuel shortage. Market segmentation. Dividing target market into groups. Market segmentation brings us to the third factor that boosts advertising value. Wholesalers. Distributor that sells products to a retailer. In their role as wholesalers, they provide business credit to facilitate transactions. Recession. Prolonged downturn in economy. Small enterprises have suffered financially during the recession. Embezzlement. The crime of stealing money. The manager was charged with being an accessory to the embezzlement of funds. Wage negotiations. Talks between workers and employers. This policy will increase the bargaining power of management in wage negotiations. Business tycoon. Someone who is successful in business. The formula to becoming a business tycoon is to devote your energies to voluntary work. Budget deficit. When government expenditures exceed revenues. The policymakers are ready to cut the federal budget deficit for the next fiscal year. Allowance. Money allotted for a particular purpose. The pension includes an allowance of £50 for transportation expenditures. Commodity. Something that is bought and sold. Clean water is a precious commodity in any part of the world. Corporate ladder. The hierarchy of a corporation. It takes hard work and a little bit of support and luck up the corporate ladder. Budget surplus. When income exceeds expenditures. The budget surplus could be used to hire and train more security workforces. Property bubble. Unusual demand for housing. The concern now is that a bursting property bubble might do damage to lenders. Derivatives. Something based on another source. Many finance and marketing English words are derivatives of Latin words. Mutual fund. A professional investment scheme. The big mutual fund suffered from the same mistakes that hurt the hedge fund. Nominal values. The face value of security. The nominal value of this unit would rise with inflation in each budget. Demanding job. Task that requires a lot of physical work. Having an organized desk can seem difficult if you have a hectic, demanding job. Laid off. Permanent removal from a job. The whole labor force was laid off and a fresh one was promptly hired. Entrepreneurship. Skill in starting new businesses. They are the superstars of entrepreneurship. They get promotion and cash. Self-employed. Working for oneself rather than an employer. Self-employed business proprietors could deduct all health insurance costs. Chambers of commerce. A form of business network. Our regional chambers of commerce are voluntary organizations. Consortium. A group of people and companies. The consortium includes some of the biggest building contractors in the USA. Remuneration. Money paid for work or a service. Generous remuneration packages are often attached to overseas postings. Raw materials. Materials that are in natural state. We import raw materials and energy and export mainly manufacturing products. Warehouses. A building for storing goods. The old warehouses have been refurbished for new office accommodation. Quality control. System of maintaining standards. It is true that the system of checking for quality control is not adequate. Market share. The percentage of an industry. In some groups of products, however, the market share would be abruptly higher. Price hike. A sudden increase in prices. The price hike in spices was mainly caused by hoarding and exploiting. Consumerism. Increasing consumption of goods. The acceleration of modernism began with the start of modern consumerism. Assets. Anything that has exchange value. Housing units accumulate wealth across a broad spectrum of assets. Share capital. Money invested by a company. The oil company has a share capital of almost $100 million. Negative equity. A deficit of owner's equity. Someone who has borrowed money to buy a house has negative equity. Mergers. Combination of two or more companies. They manage a company offering assistance on mergers and acquisitions. Takeovers. Taking control of another company. Cross-border takeovers are also putting rising pressure on currencies. Government spending. All government spending in an economy. An additional government spending crisis is forthcoming in the United States. Dividend. Part of the profit is paid to shareholders. The first quarter dividend has been increased by approximately 3%. Endowment policy. Insurance policy that provides life coverage. As for the endowment policy, you have to compensate for a higher premium. Pension scheme. A type of long-term savings plan. Monthly contributions to the pension scheme will be taken out of your earnings. Fiscal year. An accounting period of 12 months. The accountants reviewed the company's books at the end of the fiscal year. Hedge funds. Funds that trade large amounts of shares. However, financial intellectuals are beginning to demystify hedge funds. Hyperinflation. A situation in which prices are rising fast. Mounting hyperinflation has rendered the Zimbabwean dollar worthless. Liquid asset. An asset that can be converted into cash. They, therefore, deliver a secure and highly liquid asset for the banks. National debt. The sum of a nation's annual budget deficits. The administration taxed fuel highly in order to finance the national debt. Paternity leave. Father's time off work after child's birth. Portugal is the only country paternity leave is obligatory, but only for 2 weeks. Soft skills. The combination of people skills. Soft skills are interpersonal skills such as the ability to communicate well with other people. Assembly line. A manufacturing process of a company. The new assembly line boosted production by 25%. Quota. Officially allowed amount of something. The government set a quota on the annual percentage of immigrants from Japan. Trade balance. Value between a country's imports and exports. We managed to accomplish a promising trade balance in our foreign trade. Treasury. Department that controls public money. No department can spend money without Treasury authorization. Zombie funds represent potentially attractive investment. Zombies are corporations that do not generate surplus cash to fund an expansion.